tonight I'd like to introduce the campaign director, and him and I have become very chatty and very friendly. I love this guy. Jay Flatt is from Washington State, and he has the pleasure of introducing a candidate for President of the United States. Jay.
Thank you, Kelly. It's Jay Fratt, so we need to become closer. We'll get that last name right. I'm not a public speaker. I'm a volunteer. I'm one of you. The last time I spoke, I was running for state committee man in my county. I got up there, I forgot about what I was going to say. I just yelled a bunch of stuff, and they elected me. I saw what was going wrong in our country a few years ago. I'm an entrepreneur, and I built my own island, and I was able to kind of live and buy my dream house in 25 years as a retailer. And I looked around, and I couldn't take what was going on in our country anymore. So I put the business aside, and I started researching and volunteering. And somehow Mr. Boerner found me and plucked me out of obscurity. And I view myself as a highly capable person, and we need more highly capable people to get involved in our bureaucracy, because there's something wrong that's going on, and the mature adults need to step up and infuse integrity and authenticity into our process. And as I call around the country, I make cold calls all across the country, and I have these great conversations with county chairs, but none like I had with Kelly Koch here. She's an amazing person. You guys are lucky to have her. But what we're doing, as I found, as I called more Iowa County chairs, I found, wow, these people are so inviting. And we kind of speak a common language when I talk about integrity and authenticity. And I've actually found Iowa a very lovely place, and all of you to be so welcoming. I appreciate it. Because Iowa is grassroots, and we are planting the seeds of grassroots here. You guys are used to this process, this presidential process. You're used to being first. You're used to vetting candidates. Well, I've got a candidate today that does not have name recognition. He's not a celebrity. He is not from the entrenched political class. He just has what's most important, the experience to run the executive office. And he's got integrity and authenticity and transparency. And he is also a volunteer. He has raised his hand to run for President of the United States to serve his country once again. I'd like to introduce Mr. Eric John Boerner, presidential candidate.
Thank you there, Jay. Thank you, everybody, for having me here. Really appreciate Mickey's Irish Pub for having us do this wonderful event with you all. Really nice to see all of the conservatives here in Iowa. Like Kelly said, this is where it all begins here for presidents. Traditionally, when I was growing up, we always saw the presidents from both parties coming through Iowa, giving you all a chance to speak to us, to actually have these town halls and get to know what the heart of America is actually thinking. And I appreciate having the ability to run for office, which is something that most people don't actually do. I mean, this is something that most people in their right minds would not go up there and say, hey, guess what? I'm going to run for president today, and try to convince a bunch of people that I'm a better candidate than the candidate that they see all over the news. And so that's where we're at. We're trying to run this grassroots campaign. I come from Washington State. It's a very blue state, and I live in the rural areas, and so my little tiny island of red in this sea of blue is very disheartening for me. Like Jay said, there's a lot of things going on in our nation that needs to be addressed. He's an entrepreneur, a retailer, and where we come from, there's a lot of homeless folks. There's a lot of fentanyl. There's a lot of drugs. It's pretty sad over on the West Coast. So it's very nice to come here to Iowa, where everybody seems normal, and it almost makes me want to move here. Let me just say that. My my reasoning for running for president is because our current political landscape it's kind of polarizing. We see people who are on the left, and we see people on the right who are just slinging mud at each other on a constant basis, and this seems to be something that's being done on purpose. It feels like there is rhetoric that continues to be pushed on the political class in order for those folks to just grift. And I hate to make that a word that seems to be something that most normal, common people don't actually see in their politicians. They don't see a grift on both games of the aisle. But it does seem to be pretty in your face now, right now at this time, where we have two political parties who are trying to put the common people against each other. And I saw that so stark and in your face because we have problems that we, the American people, see that needs to be addressed, but our politicians are actually not addressing those problems. So I decided I was going to stand up and run for president and actually fix the problems that we see as a nation, rather than just talking about those problems. I have plans and policies that can directly affect those situations and bring our people back into a space where they feel they have dignity and honor of being an American, especially when you're traveling across the world. We've taken on a kind of a bad stigma that's been applied to us, and I think it has everything to do with our politics. I want to be able to talk to my family at the dinner table again. And it seems like right now, we can't have basic conversations with any kind of politics at all. So I feel like we need to have a common ground where we can strike a chord between everybody, bring our families back together again, and actually run politics the way they're supposed to be run, where there is a cooperation amongst all parties. I'm not talking about unity. I'm not talking about, jumping over to the other side. I'm just talking about doing what's right for the common people, doing what's right for you, doing what's right for your uncle or your aunt. That's where we need to come back to as an American people. I have worked in the federal government for 33 years. I have a lot of experience with what our line offices do, how our government runs, administrative laws and policies that they do. And what we're seeing right now is that there is a politicalization inside of our line offices, and that seems to be where the strife is coming from. If I become president, I'll get in there and I will rearrange our line offices so that we don't have that political strife that's being pushed from within the government bureaucracy that we have currently. So I would really like to have your support and get to know us as a campaign. Look at our policies that we have. We have a policy website that is very deep and goes into detail about what we want to do to change our nation and fix some of the things that we have going on currently that's putting a divide within our nation and our people. So I want to thank you all very much for having me here, and this is going to be a question and answers session from what I understand, and if you all would like to ask a few questions about the candidate, myself, EricBoerner, I would like to take them.
Questions?
I think we're going to have, how do you want to do this? Do you want to
Raise your hand.
go
If
to
you have
the,
a question, stand up right away.
here you go, Terry.
All right, and I'll repeat the question so everybody hears it, and then I'll hand it back. Okay, right over here, go ahead. Just good and loud, and then I'll repeat it.
So I'd like to know your position. What are you going to do as president with the administrative state?
So, what are you going to do with the administrative state is the question when you become president.
So the administrative laws that we have in our country with the federal government, the the Office of Inspector General usually takes care of a lot of the administrative laws that are being broken within the bureaucracy of our country. I will give the Office of Inspector General some additional tools to continue their mission and ensure that we don't have line offices that are actually breaking administrative laws. There are lawyers within the federal government that are extremely good at doing administrative law and being able to dodge certain types of things that when an Office of Inspector General comes at them with a report, they have this thing called, well, they basically are able to skirt their way out of things because of this administrative policy that they have. And so I would go in and ensure that those administrative policies are rechecked and that they are actually bound within the constitutional laws that we have in our nation. So.
All right, next question. Next question. Don't be shy. Yes, ma'am.
What's your stance on mail-in voting versus voting in person?
What is your stance?
Voting, etc.
Let's talk about voting. Mail-in voting, early voting. What's your stance on that? Nice and close.
So we do mail-in voting in Washington, and I never really have liked it. It allows for people who are coming in from other. It allows for other people who are overseas to do their mail-in voting. So, like, say, for instance, the military or something like that. But what we see in Washington is that things are not getting counted as you would think. So there is a AP News does their AI modeling of the outcome of a certain senatorial race or a constitutional race or even the presidential race. And that seems to be not impacted by any mail-in votings or anything like that. I think we need to actually have a system where people are going into a place to vote and it's recorded right there and then. And so that there is no window of opportunity for any kind of interference or thought of interference. And I think that would be a way to keep our election cycle a little more secure currently. I just don't think. There are ways that we can do things that are permanent, like a blockchain system, but then that we're getting into more technical things that I think most average people would not be interested in. So.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, I saw one more question over here. Yes.
What are you going to do about all this money we're giving to other countries and then deciding to cut our social security program?
So the question is, what are you doing about all the money we're sending overseas, and then they want to cut our Social Security program? Nice and close.
So definitely want to keep the Social Security program intact. I think that our elder generations are losing their value of the dollars that they put into the Social Security program. Especially with inflation currently, you have inflationary rates that are so high that your folks that are in their Social Security benefits currently aren't able to catch up with that. The cost of living increases are not matching the cost of living that's actually happening with the inflationary rate currently. And I don't agree that we should be sending money off to foreign nations to protect them when we should be actually taking care of the folks that we have here at home. I see a lot of homelessness in Washington. I see a lot of drug addiction that's going on there, and those are problems that we could definitely solve with the money that we're sending overseas. So.
All right, I think we have time for one more, and then we've got one more little presentation. Yes, sir. Go ahead, just yell it out, and I'll repeat it. Here, come on up here then. I just don't stand in front of the speaker if you can, right over here.
Okay.
It'll get feedback. So.
Hi, in light of the Afghanistan withdrawal debacle and in light of our inability to deter the Russians from going into Crimea and then a full-blown attack in Ukraine, what would you do to prevent China from attacking Taiwan?
So with all of the conflicts that are going on, what would you do to prevent China from going into Taiwan?
That's a good question. I think that the foreign diplomacy aspects that we have in our country right now, the foreign diplomacy corps is not actually doing their mission as they should be. I believe that China is in a situation where they are looking at a future that's well beyond where we're at. They're looking at a future that's more like 100 years from now rather than what's currently happening now in our current political situation. And the Ukraine-Russian war that is going on right now does feel like it's a proxy war with China, and that should we get ourselves involved in it too much, it's quite possible that we may have a situation that was like World War II with the Chinese attacking Taiwan. That would then bring us into a conflict with China as well. I think there's diplomacy that we can do still. I think there's words that can be said to those particular nations that would give them pause before actually continuing on with the aggression that they're currently doing. There are very specific words, I think, that if we were able to get into speak with Putin and his cadre, I think that would solve the war in Ukraine and Russia. But I think it needs to be the right diplomat that makes those compelling words to them.
Okay, well, we thank you all for joining us. Eric John Boerner, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for running. How about a hand for him? He will take more questions. We'll have him back here so that you can answer. He'll answer any questions, but most of all, stop in and just say thank you for being part of the start of the solution here and having more people run and bring out all these ideas. Thank you so much. One more hand. Eric John Boerner. Okay, I believe the regional capital Republican women are here. Come on up with a quick message, and then we'll wrap this up on time and on budget, the motto of the Dallas County Republicans. Really close, really close.
Okay, we'll be really
Yeah, as close as you can to your mouth.
Well, it's great to see all of you that turned out today, and we have a little bit of an award to give out tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we at Capital Region Republican Women cannot keep up with your chair. We try. We're running close behind her as fast as we can, but that's why we're a little bit behind with this. Can you hold this, Heather? But we want to give Kelly a special gift tonight. So Kelly, if you'll come up and get this. Kelly is a member of our club, and we appreciate her so much, her energy, her drive, everything that she does. So thank you. Yeah. I don't think you really need it that much. But anyway, thank you for everything that you do, Kelly. We appreciate you so much. So anyway,
Welcome.
so thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.